A settembre di 2 anni fa vi avevo fatto una promessa: portare Andy Tower sul nostro canale a raccontarci la sua storia e i segreti dietro le sue fragranze. A 2 anni abbondanti di distanza sono riuscito a mantenere la parola data e a portarvi Andy in un contenuto esclusivo, dal momento che il profumiere svizzero difficilmente rilascia interviste e ancor più raramente così approfondite come quella che state per vedere. Non voglio spoilerarvi niente né farvi perdere ulteriore tempo, vi dico solamente: godetevi Andy.
Welcome everybody, we are here with one of the most famous creator of the niche perfumery from the Switzerland. Welcome Andy Tower, thanks to joining our podcast, our channel, and thanks for coming to Milano to this interview.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Fantastic. Thank you.
It's, I don't know, more than almost 2 years that I'm waiting for this moment since we published our first video on L'air du désert Marocain. That is one of the biggest success we have in the world of niche, but also in Italy, and we will discuss a bit later. But before starting talking about your creation, I want to talk a bit about you.
Okay.
Because when I was reading your story, I discovered that you didn't start as a perfumer. You had a past life in that wasn't the one of the perfumer, and I would like to know like the reason why and the story behind you becoming a perfumer.
Yes.
Okay, Andy, let's start talking about your career. Like when you started to do the perfumer, you didn't start as many other creators did because you were a sort of self-trained nose. So what did you do before becoming a perfumer, and what was the reason why you decided to change your life?
Well, first, let me tell you what looking backwards looks like a perfect plan, like a straight line, and it becomes a perfumer and builds a brand and everything. It actually never was like that.
Okay.
I never in my life actually planned to become a perfumer. Where the first time when I realized I'm a perfumer, actually when I said it, I'm a perfumer, was when I was traveling to Egypt, and at the immigration to Egypt, they asked me for the profession that I had. And I did not want to say chemist. So I said perfumer. And I realized then that when you say perfumer, like, oh, the eyes go, and he said, oh my God, you make perfume, you know, and then you suddenly have a different, or you're on a different level, because people think differently about perfumer than about chemist. But anyhow, I have a chemistry background, I did a PhD, I worked in the US for a year, and then I came back to Switzerland. I was born in 1964. This is the peak, you know. I think it's the peak of the baby boom in Switzerland. So this means that wherever I was, there were always too many
Of your age.
like of my age, like too many at the university. When I came back from the US and I was looking for a job, there were too many like me looking for a job with a PhD in chemistry. So I didn't end up in the chemistry industry actually, but I started working as product manager, business development manager, and in the end, don't ask me why, I managed research programs of the European Union, or the Swiss participation in research programs of the European Union. Okay.
How do you bond this with the chemistry? I don't want to know
No,
it.
it has nothing to do with chemistry anymore. It's just it's kind of like management related, you know. And but the interesting thing is the following. You know, in myself, this is the retro perspective, the analysis now of my life. I have, besides this rational part, which helped me to study chemistry, I also have a very strong creative part. Okay, for instance, I basically painted all my life, you know, except for 10 years about when I was very busy in management gurus stuff, okay? Anyhow, and at some point doing all this management stuff and being very, very intellectual actually, I realized I need to come up with something creative to balance. And in the end, retrospectively, the perfume creation, this playing with raw materials, this smelling, this composing. This was like a creative balance to compensate this weird business world. You know,
The rational aspect of your life.
the rational aspect, the sometimes very crazy. We were doing very crazy things, a lot of Excel and business plans, and very, 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 very left side brain. Anyhow, so that was the starting point of 20 years later perfume career. I started to buy raw materials, play with them. Initially, just natural raw materials, because I used to work with the book by Mandy Afdel. She's a natural perfumer. She wrote a book about it. She's actually the natural perfumer in the US who started this natural perfume movement.
Okay.
Very West Coast, very
EP.
hippie a little bit, but she's a wonderful woman. And many, many years after I read the book and I started working with raw materials, I actually met her in San Francisco.
Okay.
And she's an idol for me, like a top. Because first, she's a woman who managed to go her way. She did something back then that was very original, very new. People didn't talk about natural perfumery back then. And that's very grande, as they say in Italy.
We were talking. We are in the 90s, more or less.
No, we are talking about, I think she started in the 80s to do
in the
that.
80s, okay.
Yeah, I think she started to do that in the 80s. I started to play with natural raw materials about 25 years ago.
Okay.
So more or less like that. So that's end of the 90s.
End of the 90s, yes.
End of the 90s. Yeah. And the very funny thing actually is, why did I buy this book by her? I bought this book by her because I invited my mother for a safari. Together with me, I put the safari together because the management job that I had paid a lot of money. Okay, and she always
At
said,
least,
"Yeah,
no creative part, rather than
and originally, I don't come from a rich family, so we were actually quite poor, or not poor. I mean, but we had a good life, but we didn't have that much money. And my mother also didn't have much money because my father passed away early, and she had to take care of me and my brother and everything. So when I earned this money, I invited her for journeys, for travels, and one of them was a safari in Kenya and Tanzania. And for this trip, I went to Amazon. Amazon was quite new back then, but I had bought books before on Amazon, and then Amazon gave you recommendations,
For other books.
For other books. And one recommendation was this book, Essence and Alchemy, by Mandy Afdel. And by the way, to the people who watch this video, you can still buy the book. It's a wonderful book. It's really a nice introduction into the world of natural raw materials and natural perfumery, and it's worth reading it.
I do.
Yeah, you
Next
will
time
enjoy it. You will
meet each other,
enjoy it.
I'll tell you
Right.
what I think about it.
So, and there started this passion for raw materials, collecting. There's also an aspect of collecting raw materials, natural at the beginning, and then later I realized if I want to make a perfume that I really like and that the people that I give it as a gift really like, I have to make one step beyond and include also synthetics and go towards synthetics too. So I integrated them. After a couple of years, 3-4 years, I was ready actually first to give up my job that I had. I had a big drama with, it was a family company.
Okay.
Family companies are wonderful, okay? Up to the moment when you have an argument with one of the family members, and then you just have to go. I had to go. But then I had really a hard time finding another job because I was so specialized, and it was really difficult to find a job. And at that time, I invited friends over for dinner. As I always did or do, we started smelling some raw materials. And one of the friends was Pascal. Pascal is the shop owner in Zurich, where you find all my perfumes in a little bookshop. Very weird story there too, because Pascal has a house in Morocco and he buys a lot of stuff in Morocco that he then sells in his bookshop too.
Okay.
So it's a very special bookshop. It's like a bazaar, like shrinked to a bookshop, Then the next day, Pascal asked me, can you not make a perfume for my shop around Morocco, That would be cool. And I had time, I was unemployed, and I did that. That was the first perfume, was then Le Maroc pour Elle, Morocco for
Number
her.
01.
Number 1, right?
Actually, I haven't smelled it yet.
You haven't smelled it?
No, because
yeah, in Italy.
it's not available.
Ah, mi dispiace. We have to change this. Because it's a little bit a crazy composition. Okay. Crazy in the sense of it's very dark because I use so much rose absolute and jasmine absolute that are very colored, you know. Yeah. And actually, this is the only perfume I really had to reformulate.
Okay,
because of the jasmine. I had too much jasmine in it. There's a European law that says, I think it's 1.5% that you are allowed to put in.
And you had more before.
I had more before, and I had to change this a little bit. But it still smells very good.
The raw materials that you were collecting, they were flowers, they were resins. I'm starting to collect raw materials, and I cannot stop myself. I just want to have all of them.
I can tell you, you need a good credit card. No, seriously, at the certain time of my life, this collection of raw materials, trying to find the best patchouli, or like a very good patchouli, an old patchouli, a patchouli from there, a patchouli from there. That was very important. And I sometimes I just bought small samples, you know, as a experience, as an enjoyment, you know. And sometimes I also bought stuff for production later. It was something I often did together with Marocain. This little story. Pascal had this shop, okay? And one day, this Miss Marocain comes to his shop, and she sees this Le Maroc pour Elle, and she smells it. And then she asks Pascal, who did this? Who did this, you know? Like, she could smell it, you know, that this was special. And Pascal said, yeah, this is Andy Tower. And then she said, oh, I want to get to know him. I would like to meet him. And then Pascal made this match in heaven, you know, between Mero and me, and we became immediately friends because we really shared the same passion, you know. We really shared this smelling and working with raw materials. And often, Vero and me, we were getting samples, and then we were sharing them, you know. I said to Vero, look, I found this from Robert, something new or whatever. And then sometimes we would even do orders together, a large scale, like a kilo or half a kilo, because we said, this is so special. We cannot use it now, but we put it into our fridge. We share it. We make 50-50, for instance. Then we put it to the fridge, and one day there will be the idea where this will fit, and then we will make it, you know. So that was very nice. And I was meeting Vero like sometimes every week or every second week, you know. We would go for a coffee and smell a little bit, talk about the industry. Never-ending story, because there's a never-ending stream of perfumes coming, so you have always something to talk. That was very nice, actually.
And also after there, every day they are introducing new molecules, there is a new trend, there is a new way to do stuff, new regulation.
New regulations that make life harder. Then suddenly, for instance, you cannot use some materials anymore, or the materials you can still use, but they are treated in a different way, and then the quality changes. Yeah. I can give you one example. Bergamot. Bergamot, okay. So I was together with Vero in Paris. Okay. And there is, every 2 or every 4 years, there's an exhibition where producers show raw materials.
It's in June.
It's in summer, right? Yes.
It's in June. I wanted to go last summer.
Yeah, it's very good, actually. I didn't go. Yes, I missed it too. With Vero, she always reminded me of that, and we always went together. So we were there. And then there was an Italian producer. I don't remember which company, but just I remembered that there was this guy. He presented himself, and he had a bergamot essential oil with him. Okay, and he said, we are a producer of citrus essential oils. And he said, I have a sample for you. I need to show you this. Because he recognized me or Vero, I don't remember. Anyhow, and this was the bergamot oil that was untreated, that had all the furans, herbacaptanes, and everything, you know. Okay. That is forbidden now, that is removed. It's taken out of the bergamot essential oil, you know, in a process. Don't ask me how. Okay. I'm not an expert. Then he said, you smell this and you will understand the old Guerlains. Okay. And I smelled it and I said, "Oh my God, this is so different to what we can use nowadays."
Okay.
And he said, "Yeah, here you see what we miss. There's no way around it, but you see what you miss. There's no way we can do guirlands like they used to be done because they used raw materials in a different quality."
Before we were talking about the Exans,
Yeah.
and I think the best part of the exhibition was the corner, the area dedicated to the Osmotech, where you could go there and smell the original formulas of very huge masterpiece, like smelling the original Chanel number 5, smelling, I don't know, the first Sauvage. You understand that what we have now is very different.
It's quite different, yeah. And sometimes it's quite interesting, nowadays I don't buy that much perfume anymore in perfumeries. But there was also a time when I found a perfume that I liked or found interesting, whatever. Not niche, not only niche, also mass market. Well, why not? Mass market of 20 years ago is today's niche. Seriously.
It's like the perfect. Like you couldn't say in a better way.
Okay. Anyhow, and then so I bought a couple of scents, perfumes, and. If I smell them now, they're maybe 20 years old, and the perfume is still on the market. But if I smell them now and I compare to what is on the market now, it's not that this perfume got old. It's really they changed the formula. And sometimes it's a little bit sad because usually it doesn't go towards braver, more interesting, more rich, more fascinating. It goes more towards simple, easy.
To decrease the cost of the company.
I don't know.
If you have the problem with the IFRA, maybe.
You have some IFRA problems, Then you have, of course, the issue that the big brands, and I don't want to talk too much about the big brands, but the big brands, they are very active all over the world. They sell a lot in Asia, China, you name it, okay? There the consumer maybe also asks slightly for different perfumes that are made in a different way. So maybe you also want to adjust your big iconic perfumes a little bit more towards this market or towards the next generation who is maybe demanding something different. Yeah, I can tell you, Matteo, I'm so glad I'm doing selective niche perfumery, indie perfumery, and not mass market. It's a very tough market to be in.
Yeah, consider that about mass market. I don't know if you know Alessandro Gualtieri.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
When he came here, one of the things that he said was, I used to work with the major company of this world, and I couldn't do what I really wanted.
No.
Because I had the brief, I have a budget, my idea wasn't exactly what the market was requiring in that moment. So my creative side was literally destroyed. I couldn't do, as you said before, I was using a lot of my rational part, but not my creative part. He said working with a major company is like this.
It's like this, yes. And what you usually do as a perfumer in industry is actually you just fill the drawers with perfume formulas, basically, Drawers that when a client comes, I don't know, Mr. XYZ, okay, who wants to have a new brand or wants to have another perfume for his existing brand. You open, and he says, I want to have something fantastic floral. You open the drawer floral, and you can give him 10 different perfumes, and he can choose one, That's
They
the
will
reality.
One of that. Yeah. And I know very well.
Yeah.
Actually,
and to be honest, the worst must be to work in functional perfumery. Functional perfumery is like soaps, dishwasher tabs. There you have a incredible price constraint, okay, and still it must smell, so it must be horrible,
Yeah.
So that's a privilege, Matteo. That's I know that's a privilege that I have. First, I really am a free creator, I create for my own brand. Nothing else, I have no constraints at all. And what I think needs to be done or what I want to do, I can do it, as long as my bookkeeper keeps okay.
Yeah.
As long as there's money, I can do it, I just need to make sure that we, as a company, make enough profit that we can continue making perfumes and building our company.
You are just working to keep the company solid in order to continue to work in this way?
Right. I mean, to be honest, I say we because for many years I did everything really like myself.
Just you?
Just me.
For how many years?
Oh, more than 10 years. Okay.
I know that the bottle is designed by your brother.
No.
No?
No.
Ah,
not by my brother.
I know, okay.
Not by my brother, no, but I'm working, of course, with the designer. Actually, my friend, the bookkeeper, who makes the books for me, he had the idea, make a pentagonal bottle. Okay? And with this idea, pentagonal bottle, which I checked in the market, there's none, I went to the designer who helps me to do all the design of all the labels and the packaging and everything. And he then did this design for the bottle, the logo, based on my signature and the cap.
I checked when I read the story and I comment that it's not true.
Sorry, my brother is 100% not involved in my company.
Okay.
He's
not,
a mechanic.
he's not like mine. Okay.
My brother is actually a mechanic, although he works not as a mechanic anymore now. He's managing waste burning company in Switzerland.
Okay.
Very exciting.
Yes.
No, but seriously. So for more than 10 years, I was basically alone. Okay. And I can tell you, even if you have large shoulders, it weighs on your shoulders, And I started very small, of course, but we grew larger. And thanks God, after 7 years or so ago, I really found a soulmate, and now we are two running the company, which is very good because first I have always somebody who is contradicting me, has better ideas, who's younger a little bit, and who can help me to build the brand, also make the brand also ready for the future, or keep the brand running in the future, which is very nice, So now I can also, for a day or two, I can get sick, and the company doesn't collapse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's very good, actually. Yeah. At some point, coming back actually to your question, at the beginning everything was a game. And I made this perfume for the shop, and the second one was L'air du désert Marocain. It was a game. Okay,
a game well done. I would say.
Seriously, I had a crisis meeting with Pascal after a couple of months that Le Maroc pour Elle was in the shop.
Okay,
and the crisis meeting was he did not sell it. And this is no wonder, because you had maybe a wonderful perfume, but it was a very ugly bottle. It was made by a perfumer, by a guy nobody knows, and the packaging was very simple. I printed all the labels and stick them myself and all that. And then Pascal said, what shall I do? Andy, what shall I do? I cannot sell it. I don't know, You have any idea? Maybe we should do a workshop or anything. And then I said, the problem is we have only one. We need now to do a second one, and the first one was very targeted to women with the name, which is a mistake, You exclude 50% of the population, except for the very brave ones. The brave male who wear Le Maroc pour Elle, they exist, but anyhow. So I said, let's do another one, which is a little bit more focused, like more towards the middle, like unisex or so. Still Morocco, but unisex. Then I started working on that. It was quite a long time. I had a very specific idea how I want to do it. And then in the end, I did it. But you see, the idea behind it was a game. Like, we have one, now we make a second one. Maybe we sell then. And then the thing is, for sure you know this and your brother, when you build a company or when you have a venture, of course you need a good idea, you need to work a lot, you need to be creative, all this, and then you need a lot of luck too.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was very lucky because Luca Turin back then had a blog. I had a blog, was writing very actively back then. That was a time when the social media were not that big yet. I launched Eddie Desert, and then...
In the meantime, I spray it, so...
Yeah, so we have something to smell.
Yeah.
Because he had a blog, Luca Turin, and I had a blog. I said to myself, let's send him a bottle, So maybe he finds it interesting and he wants to talk about it. And I sent him an air and Le Maroc pour Elle, and I think just a sample. And then when he got it, he immediately wrote me back and he said, "Who's the perfumer? Who made this?" You know, he was very interested. He was like, tick, 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 tick. And then he wrote something, "Grazie a lei." Yeah, and then he wrote something in a magazine of a very important Swiss newspaper, and later he wrote the book, and then I started to have a little online shop, and then I had retailers starting to order. After a couple of years, my mother passed away. That changed a lot in my life because I realized really how short life can be. And then I really decided, no, I stopped working for another company. I want to build this baby, you know. And then things became very serious, you know. Yeah.
You said you were lucky, but I think that being lucky is something, but in Italian we say aiutati che Dio t'aiuta. So you can be lucky, but to be lucky you have to do something very good. And I remember the first time I smell L'Elle de Marocain. I was with Gabriele.
Gabriele.
I think you didn't see because he was downstairs.
Okay,
and
Gabriele.
He was so excited because he said, "Okay, smell it. You can smell all of the things that are listed in the pyramid. You can smell the spicy notes, both of it, because you can smell the cardamom, you can smell the cumin. It's sharp, but it's at the same time fresh, a bit green. You have a lot of light brought by flowers, and then you have this ambery accord, which is so well balanced, so well done."
Yeah, this. Yeah, it's very interesting.
No, but the fact is that this fragrance has almost 20 years.
Yeah, next year actually.
Yeah, next year is
20 years.
Yeah.
You know, 20 years. Yoo-hoo.
And there are people that are still. I was one of them that in 2 years ago I was shocked by the complexity and the way this fragrance is complete. People ask me, no, I want Au Cours du Désert because it's stronger. I say, no, it's not stronger. Keep your choice on L'Elle de Désert because it's perfect. You cannot do anything else.
I contradict you. You have to buy both of them.
Okay, that's true.
No,
Next
just
time we
kidding.
say like this.
Just kidding. But here's the thing, Matteo, real thing. The other day, Pedram, my business partner, published a picture of an old bottle of Elle de Marocain on Instagram.
Okay.
I think in the bathroom somewhere in the dark. And it's now almost 20 years old, you know. Batch 001, so that's the first batch I feel. And if you smell it, I mean, it got a little bit darker, okay? It got a little bit softer, and maybe a little bit more powdery, but it's still like, wow, fantastico, you know, fantastico. And I said to Pedram, you see, I don't want to praise myself, but this is the difference, you know, when you use a lot of natural raw materials, the perfume really matures in a different way compared to if you use just synthetics. You know, it's different. It's hard to explain. You need to smell it. You know.
Can we say that it's like a good wine?
Like a good whiskey.
A good whiskey. Better.
Like a good whiskey. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
But you said I do it because I have to do it. I started with Le Maroc pour Elle that you said was rich in raw materials. You go on L'Elle de Marocain, there are still a lot of raw materials, of natural raw materials.
Yeah, but the thing is, Le Maroc pour Elle, maybe I didn't say it properly, it's very opulent.
Okay.
It's like you spray it and you're in a big opera, you know? Like
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like big, very big, very, very big. And this, I think, is much more refined, you know.
Okay.
It has a bigness in it, but it's more like, it's a little bit more delicate. It's a little bit quieter. It wants to be discovered. Le Maroc pour Elle is like a diva singing very loud. I'm here, you know?
Okay. How can you describe your way of making your perfumes? Are you, I don't know, a classical one? Are you I don't know.
You know, I have this big old oak tree in the garden.
Okay.
And when I want to make a new perfume, I walk around it until I have an idea.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
No, why not?
Why not? I mean, you know, in this industry, you know, you hear so many weird stories about perfume creation. The thing is, first, to be honest, Matteo, it's sometimes a very hard process. Okay? Because it's a creative process and you want to go somewhere. It's like painting a picture or a portrait. This is what I like to do. I like to do portraits, you know. Then you start, and then with the portrait, the challenge is it should look like the person, and it should reflect the personality of this person in a 2-dimension, which is a big challenge, you know. Okay, in perfume, it's the same. You have an idea. You want to, for instance, Elle des Marocain. The idea was there's a picture behind it. Like I wanted to create a perfume that captures this evening. You're in a hotel, you know, the air comes in and it brings the spices from the souk, the dryness from the desert is there. You have flowery notes, you have the citrus, cookies, everything is in there. And you imagine this panopticum and this is what you say, this is where I want to go, you know, there. I want to be, okay? And then you start mixing and changing, and it's very hard and sometimes it's very saddening, you know, because it happens so often. I come from the studio where I mix, okay, up to the 4th floor where we produce. I'm very happy, you know. I come, hey, Petra, look, smell, it's so good. And we say, yeah, okay, very good, it smells good, okay? Then you need to let it mature, you know, especially if you use raw materials that are natural. It really needs to sit in concentrate for a week, and then you can dilute it, and then you will see how it really smells, you know? Okay, so you have to be patient. You just get a first idea when you mix it. Then after a week, maturation, you smell it again, you dilute it, you smell it, and you realize, where has it gone? Where's the rose flower absolute that I put in? Where's the geranium? Or why is there only geranium left and no rose left? Then you realize it's gone. And then this is actually very sad because this means, after 20 years of perfume making, you're so stupid, it still doesn't work. No, it doesn't work the way you want it. It's bigger than you, so you have to be very humble again. You cannot just like write the formula and it's perfect. The world doesn't work like that. And you have to go back and you have to do changes. You have to think about why does the formula that I wrote, why it's eating, for instance, all the flowers, why they are not blooming, you know? It's hard to describe actually, but so it's a process. Sometimes it's an idea and sometimes it's also a raw material that starts a process.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, an incense that is special, a little bit beyond the ordinary, that can be a starting point that you say, oh, I want to make a perfume around this incense that brings out this aspect or that aspect. Can also be a synthetic material, for instance, where you say, this is a wonderful material, I want to use this, and put it next to something natural and see what happens. You know, then it's again a playful approach. And sometimes you find interesting accords that you then think, oh, this I will use for that, you know, because I've always wanted to make that perfume. So
you said, okay, maybe I've created an accord, let's say in 2002, and then I can use it, I don't know, 10 years later, working to a different project. How do you remember all of these accords you have created? Is something immediate? Is something that you arrived after many experiments? Or is something that, okay, no, I know that I want to do like this and I create everything to use that accord?
Okay, so here's the brutal truth. There's Excel.
Okay, okay.
There is
that's
Excel.
the rational part that is coming back.
Yes, so you see, when I started,
okay,
very, very early at the beginning, when I was playing with raw materials and made first like a baby trying to walk, you know. So I had a book and I wrote the formula in this book, you know. But I realized quite quickly that this is not good because in a book you cannot search with the computer, you know, and in the book it doesn't calculate things for you.
Yeah.
And then I switched to Excel and I have one big fat Excel file. Sometimes I save it again under a new number, but it's always the same file, you know. But I just save it and then I store it in the cloud so that I never lose it.
Okay.
Because this is very important. It's basically my creative history. Every formula that I most of the formula that I did since Elle Marocain and with Elle Marocain are in there, you know.
So 20 years of your life in a
Is
database.
in an Excel,
In an Excel.
And then you have different data sheets for different projects or perfume trials. Many of them, they just continue, you know, one trial after the other. I never came to an end. It just sits there, you know. And others, you can see the story, and then in the end, it says in the Excel, this is has now the name that and that, because in the Excel I work with the pro forma name, you know, like for instance, I don't know, fantastic woman, or you know,
Fantastic woman,
just a funny name. And then of course you see the thing is, there's nothing like a failed experiment. Because there's always something you can learn, or there's something weird in a formula that you realize, you know. I sometimes make note in this Excel, you know, by saying, this is interesting, this can be used together with the rose, for instance, okay. This is wonderful together with that, okay. And I make cross-references in the Excel. So sometimes I start a new project, sometimes, and I use an old formula that never came to a fruition, that I never came to a point where I said, this is going to be the perfume that I wanted, and it will end on the market. But I take that, you know, and I put it in there, and I twist it, and I go in a new direction. You know what I mean? But the normal approach, to be honest, is actually, let me explain it real quick. You know, when you always start with what you already had done, the danger is that you make copies of yourself, which is boring. Okay, doesn't work. I mean, it works practically, but it doesn't work as for a creator. It's not good. It's not good. So usually I start with an empty file of Excel, and I just go to other data sheets in the Excel, and I check real quick, okay, how much oud did you bruise there, or how much birch tar did you use there? So I don't have to reinvent that line in the formula, because I know it, okay? There I can take that one, okay? I say, okay, not too much birch tar, but a little bit, so I use that one, okay? But the rest is like an empty piece of paper, and then I start writing things down there. It's not guaranteed, because you always come back to what you love, you know. This is the thing. It's called signature, you know. But the chances that you reinvent yourself are a little bit higher, maybe, you know. And you know, the thing is, a lot of what happens when you create is not happening in a way that you can rationalize it and describe it, why it happens like that.
Okay.
If you would look at this Excel file, you would see there are a couple of perfumes where there's a gap, where maybe for 2, 3, 4 years I didn't work on it anymore, you know. And then after 4 years he comes back, the Andy, maybe because he was constantly thinking about it, and suddenly one day, in a stupid moment, has nothing to do actually with that, it comes back to your mind, and you say, the hyacinth, I think that was the problem. I have to go back and I have to try that now. You know what I mean? But you cannot say why. You don't know. It just happens in a way. It's the subconscious process that you don't control, which is very nice, actually. You know, you need to relax. It's just like a ride with somebody else, you know, the subconscious, and it will bring you to very interesting places. So you see, the thing is, Elle Marocain was my second perfume. And up to today, 20 years later almost, it's still my best-selling perfume. Okay, so you see, the best-selling perfume, the most praised, the most commented, the most liked perfume, the niche door opener for many perfume lovers is my second creation. Everything, and I created, I don't know, 30 or 40 perfumes. Many of them disappeared again, but maybe 30 perfumes I created since then have not gone beyond Elle Marocain. For a creator, this is actually very sad, I have to say. Okay, and then I was thinking about that, you know, to be honest, why do I create perfumes? I mean, I will never do something that is better than Eddie Desert. Never. You have to accept it.
Come on, why not?
Why not? Exactly. But there was a time in my life when this really bothered me a little bit.
Yeah.
Not from a commercial point of view, more from a creative point of view. That you reach the climax here, and from then on, it goes down.
And on the other side, you think, okay, I'm doing something better than that, and then the market doesn't answer in the way you were thinking.
Right, yeah. There's actually there used to be a German song singer, Hildegard Knef. She had a song, it was like, von nun an ging's bergab. From now on, it goes downwards. Okay. So from there to this, it goes downwards. No, I'm kidding. But the thing is the following. I saw on Tess, and there was a writer. She was in a similar position. Her first book that she wrote has become a bestseller, was a bestseller, and everything she did afterwards didn't sell anymore that well, was not that popular, okay. And she then talked about when you have a creation that is so popular and so well appreciated, how can you handle that everything that comes afterwards, maybe you will not reach it, and how to keep on going and staying creative, And she then talked about the concept of creativity and how in the medium age, before the lightning, what the concept actually of creativity was, and how people who were creative were regarded, and how they talked about their own creations. That was before the Renaissance. Okay. And there was a concept of the genie, somebody outside of you, okay, who actually helped you create something. Okay, so it's not you, it's the genie. Okay, and this genie helps you to create something. So you as a creator, you praise the genie, because he helped you or she helped you, And when you start thinking about that about your own creativity in that way, that you say, that was not me, that was my genie. The genie was talking to me, it helped me, okay? You can accept that for a while the genie does not talk. But you can hope that one day he comes back and he will talk again to you, and he will give you an idea for the next masterpiece. And I like that very much. For me, that was like a revelation. I said, okay, very good, very good. I just have to be patient now, and the genie will come back. Maybe next autumn, when I bring my next novelty, you will maybe see, the genie hit again.
After 20 years, he's come back.
After 20 years, the genie comes back. I am here. You.
You before said the inspiration comes also from an ingredient. And now I have two fragrances with the same ingredient, which is incense. In Incense Extreme, it's like copying the nature and trying to steal something from nature. In Incense Rosé, is giving something new.
Right.
How do you change your approach, working one fragrance or working to the other?
Okay. So actually, your description is perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Mille grazie. And the thing is, so these two fragrances, yes, indeed, the starting point was for both of them the raw material. Incense, Boswellia serrata, which is, maybe we can smell the Incense Extreme.
Amazing.
If you don't mind.
No, of course, I love it. Actually, this is my favorite.
So this Boswellia serrata extract is actually a CO2 extract.
Okay.
It's is collected in the wild in the east of Africa, Somalia, for instance, and then it's extracted in Germany with CO2.
Okay.
And most of it is actually used for medicinal purposes. You can use this extract then also for making creams for the joints and stuff like that, because it really works. On one hand is a special kind of incense. It's really a little bit different than the others. And this CO2 extraction, I don't know how to say it. It brings the best out of it. It's really like when you smell the raw material, this CO2 extract, it's like a perfume by itself almost, And that was the starting point for the Incense Extreme. For me, it was like I wanted to just like stay very clear, very clean, bringing this translucent, dry, crispy, metallic woodiness out of this incense and make a perfume out of it, you know. And in a way, it's back then, it's many years ago now, but I think I used the picture of a cubist painting, you know. This is like a cubist painting, very clear lines and very structured. And it's about, I need to check my Excel, but it's about 20% of the material in here, this incense.
Okay.
So it's overdosed of this incense. This is a very dominant part of it. And then everything, there are not so many things around it, are like just bringing this incense like to bloom, you know, up to bloom. You know, that was the idea with incense rose.
Yeah.
Or incense rosé.
No, is it incense rose or incense rosé?
Incense rosé. It's a mistake. I mean, it's not a mistake. It's on purpose written wrongly. So incense is English and rosé is French. Okay,
yeah.
So it was a game back then. You know, I just wanted to make really like again a very uber rich perfume that didn't exist so far. And I cannot tell you really why, for instance, I put this incense next to this big rose in there. I don't know. I just did it, okay? And if you smell it, this is like an oriental carpet, you know? That was sitting for a very long time in a perfumery. There's a lot of things going on. If I would make this today, I would not call it an EDP anymore. It's actually, it's beyond, you know, it's an extra. But it doesn't matter. This is definition things. It's very interesting. It has something very feminine in it, but at the same time, it's also for me very unisex. It's like, wow. It's actually a while that I haven't smelled it like that on paper. It's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. Italian market, it's a little bit special, you know. I'm not very sure about it, but I think the perfumes still need to be registered with Italian authorities. Mm-hmm. That's why some of the perfumes are not there. And it's also a decision of the distribution, what comes to the Italian market and what not.
In fact, like I asked Prisca for the discovery set, but he said that it's not registered in Italy, so they cannot bring it to Italy.
Yes.
And that's me.
Mi dispiace. But maybe one word about the Boswellia serrata.
More than one.
This is actually one of our problem childs that we have, these perfumes, you know, and this raw material. Because climate change, the trees that give this resin, they are endangered, the longer the more. First you have overexploitation, and then you really have the climate change, the climate that gets warmer is hard on these trees. So it's for the company that's doing the CO2 extract, and for us, therefore, harder and harder to get it in a good quality. So the thing is, you know, you cut the plant so that it produces the resin, okay? And this is semi-desert where these plants grow. Yeah. And if it gets a little bit warmer or drier for 2, 3, 4 years, these plants start to die. Okay. And if you overexploit them, if you cut too much, because you're greedy and you don't think about the next 10 years, or because you're desperate, that's also a thing. Because the climate change affects also the people living there with their animals. And then maybe the tree will not give that much resin anymore, or the quality is less, you know. For whatever reason, you know, we don't want to go political here, but for whatever reason, the climate changes somewhat the last couple of years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you know. And we see this with other raw materials too. So for instance, I used to make a soap using an extract from the northwestern part of America, from Canada, called Nootka tree essential oil, Nootka. Okay, and this poor tree is also a victim of climate change, and it's like that. It's actually interesting how sometimes this works. You know, the climate change in that region has, as a result, that in winter they have less snow. The snow protects the roots of these trees when it gets cold.
Okay.
Okay, so you have less snow, but still sometimes it can get very cold.
Yeah.
But then the roots are exposed and these trees suffer.
Yeah.
And I was told that's one of the reasons why there are less of these trees and why is this raw materials at the moment not available anymore. So you see, sometimes it's very complicated and very interesting how these things work. You know.
The same story about climate change, talking with, I don't know if you know Meo Fushuni.
Yeah, I know and love him. Yeah, he's very good.
He gave me this oil of lavender from Himalaya because he said it's very difficult to collect wild lavender in a region like ours, where okay we have mountains, but we don't have that altitude where wild lavender can grow, and the climate is too warm, too hot here.
Yeah.
This is very sad because I am a very fan of mountain. I'm a big fan also of skiing. And before knowing the story of the lavender, of the wild lavender, I thought this case, why can you put like wild lavender in a fragrance related to the mountain in the Alps? The first time I smell it, only for one note that is something, I don't know, very close to ice, to something minty that is so sharp. That was the fragrance of the first downhill you do when you go skiing. 8:30 in the morning, nobody around, the ice is very strong, the sun is still timid, and you can really get the ice in your nose, get the nature. Also trees are not that awake. Everything is so soft.
Yeah.
Is smooth.
Okay.
Is relaxed.
Yeah, okay.
And that's is the feeling that it gives me L'Herzl Swiss.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a bit smoother than the first slope I do in the...
It's smoother, yes.
It's smoother.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, you will never see me at 8 in the morning drive down with the skis.
Why not?
Because I don't drive ski anymore. I used to when I was a boy, until I was 16 or so, and then I stopped, you know. Okay. Let's smell it. Let me, this time I can spray it for you. Huh?
It's on your side.
Yes, exactly. You see, this is interesting. I always say this to perfume lovers when we smell together or when I talk about perfumes. Everybody of us has his own or her own
Thank you.
olfactory experience that you built during your life, you know. And therefore we all associate different things with different notes or accords or perfumes. So what for you is, I don't know, marzipan, and it brings memories of, I don't know, Christmas, is maybe for me, I don't know, something totally different, you know, because you're conditioned in a different way than me. You're younger, you're Italian. I was born on the Swiss countryside, country boy here, you know. So, and my idea of the Swiss Alps maybe, or olfactorial panopticum that could happen in the Swiss Alps is maybe completely different to yours. You know?
First.
Yes. So, yeah. What shall we say? Why lavender? Huh? Why lavender?
No, but also, I think about going to ski 8 a.m. in the morning, but which was your idea?
The thing is, this is more a sunny day, okay? Not in the morning very early. And it's more like you walking, because this is what I do. I hike. If I go to the mountains, I like to hike in the mountains, and this means you go up. You start maybe with the grassy meadows, woods, and then the higher up you go, the smaller the trees get, then you have no trees anymore. You just have the meadows, and at the very end, you have basically a desert, the mountain desert, you know. Rocks and some leeches. It's not the desert. There's also still some things growing there, and it smells. But it's very interesting. This area where you don't have any trees anymore, it's actually a very dry area. And if you smell the plants that live there, they're very herbaceous, a little bit like lavender, in the sense that, I mean, they're not like lavender. They miss this, maybe this metallic part, but this herbaceous, this roughness that plants can have, you know, because they are survivors up there. That's also in there, you know. I tried to capture that. And for that, I used the lavender. Yes, indeed.
But you also use something that is not related to mountain at all.
At all, yes, of course.
Which is ambergris. That
Yes,
is,
of
and you get
course.
from the mountain to the depth of the ocean.
Yes, but you know, ambergris, in my humble opinion, is not really ocean, okay? For me, ambergris is also very, it has something, how shall I say that? Not earthy, it has something stony about it, okay? It has something very vibrant, like, you know, when the sun shines on stone, on granite, when the granite gets very warm, and if there's some leeches growing on there too, and you smell it, there is something of that in ambergris, in my nose, okay? Maybe my nose is wrong, but for me this fits there. And then, of course, ambergris is a wonderful molecule, okay, ambroxan. It really helps you to fix things together. This is a technical aspect, but it holds things together. And it adds lift to a perfume. It makes it very airy. You know, it's a little bit like incense in that respect, you know. It brings this airiness, this fluffiness, this lightness, you know. It's hard to describe, to be honest, but it's just there, you know, like. And then, of course, you have a lot of pine in there too, you know. That's the obvious one, you know.
But that is common if you think about the Alps.
Yeah, I like this one very much. It's a little, I think it's a little bit under the radar sometimes. You see, the thing is, when you hike, especially when you hike up, okay, at some point you reach the peak or where you make the rest and you have the picnic. And the way my body works, after the picnic, I usually lay down and you can ask Petra, I fall asleep within 5 minutes, okay? And then you're on this, and it's really wonderful because then you're on this warm place, you have this... all these herbs, and there's a lot of herbs that are like, you could cook with them. It's like wild oregano is up there.
They cook with lavender, they cook with edelweiss, they cook with...
And it's all there, and it's like, and it's very dry and warm, and that's wonderful, you know.
Also with pine they cook.
Actually, I once got from a Russian friend a chocolate with inside there were cooked pine cones in it. So baby pine cones, you know, and you cook them and then with a lot of sugar, and then they put the chocolate around it. It was very delicious, very, very interesting, very special, but very good. Yeah. Actually, when I was a boy, I remember we did this. There's a recipe when the fir trees start to produce the next thing, you know, this very bright green tip, you know. We went, my mother and me and my brother, we went to the woods and we collected these tips, and then you cook them with a little bit of water, and then you filter the tips away, and then you add the sugar and you cook it to a mélasse. You know? And you can either use it like a honey on the bread, okay, but it's also good if you have a coughing, for instance, okay, then you eat the spoonful of that. And my mother would used to do this every spring, you know, a couple of glasses of that.
It gives you this balsamic aspect.
Right, and very sweet, of course, you know.
We go back to Kandar. I'm in love with rose.
Me too.
It's not my favorite flowers. My favorite one is tuberose. I'm in love with tuberose, but rose is amazing. And what can you tell us about this fragrance? Why a rose lover should love Fille Rose de Kandar?
Well, everybody should at least try it because, like you said, Matteo, I think rose has an image problem, you know, which is totally not justified. Rose perfumes can be so much more than what you might think, you know. Yeah, it's really, it's like, wow. So I tell you what the starting point was for that. You know, so the rose oil that is in there is from Afghanistan. That's why I gave the name Rose de Kandahar, although Kandahar is not there where this rose oil is produced. But I found that Kandahar people know, you know, and I wanted to make sure that people understand that this is a rose around Afghanistan. So anyhow, this rose oil is from Afghanistan. I have never visited Afghanistan. I've never been there. There is a small company. Their core competence is find high quality natural raw materials. And they specialize in really trying to find some specialities, you know, that you don't find in the catalog of Robert. Okay. And they contacted me once and we have something for you that might be interesting. Can we send you a sample? I said, yeah, sure. What is it? They said, we have this rose oil from Afghanistan. We found this producer and they gave also the background. Afghanistan has, like Iran, a very long history of rose oil production. But with the wars and everything that happened in Afghanistan, this was almost lost. And there was and they started to grow drugs for opium production. And then there was a German charity that supported farmers who wanted to go back away from opium production to the traditional rose cultivation again, and to produce rose oil for the European or American or modern markets with high demand in safety and in organic production and all that. Okay, and this charity project was very successful because it really brought a lot of farmers back to this, you know. And they helped them to produce roses in an organic way and produce this rose oil. So this rose oil is organic. I got that and I had to say, wow, this is really special. I mean, there's very good rose oil that you can buy from France, of course, from Morocco, from Turkey, from Iran, from Afghanistan. But this was somehow special. It has some things that I like very much. It's a little bit more spicy, maybe a little bit more fruity, whatever. And I like the story of this rose oil, that it's from Afghanistan, and the idea that farmers there give up on the opium thing and do their thing, you know, and that you basically support their way of living without giving charity. You know what I mean? They produce a product, you buy it for a good price, it's expensive, they have a good living, and I can make a product. Wonderful. What else you want? Yeah. Very good. So what you find around it is basically an idea that I had to bring out the core components of this rose, not to like kill it with adding oud or setting next to a big incense or a big oud or a vetiver or everything, but rather more like decorated. So that's why you have an apricot extract next to it, which brings this fruitiness, but in a very twisted way. You know, this is not a fruity floral. And I tried to incorporate something like a dry musky note, which makes it very unisex. Yeah. Now, this rose, to all the men out there, this rose, you can wear it, you know, really, seriously, no kidding. And I remember, it's another little story. I visited the shop of Pascal many years ago. And then there was a guy in the shop. Pascal was doing something in the warehouse behind his shop. And the guy, he was very butch, you know. I'm here to buy the Marocain, the tower. I said, oh, congratulations for your girlfriend. And he said, no, it's for me. Okay. And I liked that so much because it told me, you know, there's no limits. There's really no limits when it comes to perfumes. You have to listen to your skin and your nose, what your body chemistry makes with the perfume, whether it fits, also with your mood, you want to make a statement, for instance. Sometimes you just want to be in a very quiet, you're in a quiet mood and you want to have something very quiet. Yeah, but it's a wonderful perfume, I think, Yeah.
You just change your packaging of your fragrances
Yeah.
in order to reach a higher level of sustainability.
Yes.
And since I'm doing this job, everybody continue to say sustainability, sustainability, sustainability. But those who says this is also big company. Starting from the point that you are alone, you don't have to follow no one else. What is your idea of sustainability and how this is related to perfumery or luxury?
Okay. This is
in 1 hour I can answer. No, I'm joking. Take your time.
This is very complex.
I know.
And
it shouldn't be one of the last questions.
Yeah, and it's very twisted. It's so twisted. So yes, we changed our packaging. Everything that we ship now to Italy comes basically in the new packaging. The new packaging, contrary to before where we used a metal box, which was very nice, we have now a cardboard box with a very ingenious opening mechanism. So it's not your average cardboard box. It's lightweight, it's FSC, it's produced in Switzerland. Okay, so that for sure helps to reduce the impact when you produce this packaging, We cellophane it because the market demands that we cellophane. Okay, this means plastic goes around it. And then we put it into an airplane and it flies to the US. That's how it works. And we have to be very honest. The packaging is very sustainable now, the outer packaging. The way we bring it to the US, for instance, when we want to sell in the stores there's basically, for logistical reasons, there's no way then using the airplane, which is of course not sustainable. So there's always this yes, but.
Yeah.
We use raw materials. We talked about it. There's also a lot of yes, but. So sometimes I would love to use organic citruses, essential oils. Often I cannot because it's hard to say it, okay, but sometimes the organic quality is maybe organic, but the scent is not that good.
Okay.
The other ones are better. Then we use lavender, and it is produced in large quantities with a lot of pesticides, everything. This is not sustainable. So we have to make ourselves honest there. So we can only change some things and try to make a little difference there, and be aware of the fact that what we produce is a luxury product that has some impact. But on the other hand, I think we also have to say that this is a luxury product that deserves its place. Yes, you wash yourself, you take a shower, there's an impact, but thank you, you shower, okay? You want to smell nice, you want to experience, you want to have a nice experience for your nose, you buy perfume, you use perfume. Thank you for that too, even if it has a little impact, okay? There is this code for what is luxury. Luxury means big boxes, double packed boxes, triple cellophane, heavy bottles, and heavy caps. The heavier, the better. This has nothing to do with value of the product or luxury. No. This is just a code which I will not use. Sorry, it's ridiculous. Okay, I mean, maybe you have to do it in some markets to talk to a certain client segment. I know that clients who love my brand, who love my perfumes, my style, they don't care for a big heavy cap. They care for what is inside, the quality that is inside, Of course, we have a box, and on the box it says Tower. There's a logo, there's a print on it, okay? And the print is silver. There's this little bit of luxury that we do, okay? But we will never do a crystals on the bottle or on the packaging.
Swarovski on the zero.
Yes. So when you one day see me with a lot of diamonds on my fingers and crystals on the bottle,
I don't think that this will never happen.
You can talk to me and say, Andy, what you do here? Okay.
Okay.
So now here's a promise to my clients: we will not do that. I will not do that, and I know that the people who work with me and take over, they will not do this either. This is not part of our DNA.
I appreciate a lot. I like easy things.
Yeah,
I as a retailer, but also as a customer, as I told you, I want that the money spent by a company will go in the juice.
Yeah,
will go in the fragrance.
Yeah, the thing is, I totally agree. And I always knew how I make my perfumes because I make them. I know what goes in there, and I would know what goes into everything, the presentation, until you have the final packed product on a shelf. But I realized it again when we had Corona, when we had all these supply chain issues, and it was covering everything from the bakelite cap to the glass bottle to the pump to certain raw materials that we could not get because of the supply chain. It was broken. There were no containers. There was no that. There was no this. It was like a total nightmare. And I realized again, okay, the true luxury is actually that you get a perfume where there is a raw material in it, where maybe every year there's only a few kilo produced of that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or there's a perfume where you have 20% of an incense natural extract in it. That's a luxury, you don't get that. Or that you have a perfume where you have a bakelite cap that is made in Switzerland by a small company, that you have a glass bottle that is made in Spain. All these things, that's also part of being luxury, or special. For me, that has always been, it's interesting, that has always been important. Also the way I work with suppliers. So, and that actually helped us a lot in Corona. I had sometimes discussions with my bookkeeper, because, for instance, the pumps, since I exist as a company, as a brand, we buy the pumps from the same company. Okay. It's an Austrian company. They're not a producer, but I buy them from them. I know the producers in the meantime. I could buy from the producers. We have enough volume to do that, But I don't want that. I buy from them because they served me very well when I was a baby, and now they can continue serving me, okay? So we have like a very good relationship, and there's also a family behind it. So it's a family-owned company. When there was Corona and when the market was empty, when there was no pumps anymore, and when when it was super hard to get the bakelite raw material to make these bakelite caps, I called them, I talked to them, and they said, we have almost nothing, but we work for 18 years now together. We have something for you, don't worry. Okay, so that helped a lot. And I really like that way of doing business too, with a very long-term perspective where not every cent matters, when you don't have to say, okay, we have to save now 10 cents, that we have 10 cents more profit for every bottle that we sell. That's not my way of working. It never was and will not be. There'll never be.
It's like the people before the profits, more or less.
People, because we work with people, we work with a family, your company is also a family business, right? So you work with your brother here, and you maybe know the families of your employees, so you have a responsibility, and it's all connected,
Next question will be easier.
Yes, sir.
And will be the last one. Can you tell us the funniest thing that happened in your career doing a fragrance?
Of course, I had very nice experiences like Rose Flash. It's a perfume that I made. It was a starting point for a series. Rose Flash, it was funny because this was the very, very exceptional creation in the sense that I had the perfume in my mind. I was thinking about it. I was writing down the formula. I don't remember how many ingredients, let's say 15, 20. I wrote it down, I mixed it, I smelled it, I said, oh, fantastico, but I have to change one little thing. I made one change in the head notes, a little bit less of one thing, and the perfume was finished. Hallelujah. Okay, this is not funny, but this is paradise for a creator. You know what I mean? It's just not the way normally it works like that, you know. But something else happened to me as a perfumer in Italy, actually. I was in Rome for an event. I was flying out, and then, you know, you have to queue for the security check where you have to make yourself naked. And
but in the airport?
Yeah, in the airport. I mean, not naked.
Not naked,
but, but sometimes it feels like that, you know, belt away, and have to make sure that your trousers on, shoes, and so I was in this queue, waiting that my time has come to put everything on the machine. And then a guy came in the uniform from the security, you know, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you Mr. Tower? Andy Tower?" I said, yeah, okay, because I thought I made something, you know, they arrest me now. I mean, I don't know what, because I was not compliant with European law or whatever. And then I said yes, and I was really very worried for a moment, like, boom, you know, like, oh my God. And they said, I wear your perfume. Every day is a Marocain, you know. Okay. So that was very nice, very nice. Yeah, it happens to me. The longer, the more, actually, that people come to me. And also in Switzerland, you know, and this means I always have to behave, you know. I sit in a bus and suddenly somebody starts to do this, and then he says, I wear Adidas and Mark.
But nobody says I wear L'Air Swiss. So everybody's saying I wear
Adidas and Mark. It's mostly that. You know? So, but this is nice. And then when I have the time, I of course talk to people, you know. So the last time somebody in Switzerland talked to me was actually in the bus. He works for the service company that repairs the trains and stuff like that, you know. Okay. And he was in a group of people. They wear these orange dresses, you know. Yeah. And then he was looking at me in a strange way, you know. Always looking to my eyes because he recognized me, okay. And then I was kind of looking back, like doing this, you know, what you want. And then he was coming to me and said, I wear Adidas Marocain, you know, I bought it from your shop. I didn't know, okay, but I bought it from your online shop, which was very nice, very sweet, you know. So
it's a satisfaction.
That's very nice, very nice. Yeah, that's very nice.
I won't ask you what are you planning for the future, because you just said that you are releasing a new fragrance in autumn, but
we have a novelty, yes, coming.
But you cannot tell anything about it?
No, I cannot say anything.
I won't force you, no worry.
What I can tell you is when it comes to sourcing, so we actually have two things that are coming. Okay. One is gonna change the world and one is gonna rock. Okay. And that's always the nicest moment when you can talk about something that's going to come and nobody has smelled it yet. It's like wonderful. No, it's going to be ready probably in September, everything. But for the one of the project, it was really very interesting because it was really a search for the right quality of one of the raw materials that goes in there. It's the key raw material, and it was really a nightmare. And when I gave the invoice to my bookkeeper, he was like, oh my God, it's basically the most expensive perfume we've ever done. But I think that it's very nice for after 20 years we can do that, you know. Okay. So I'm very excited about that one. This is going to be very exciting.
So we're waiting for September to
discover, and it will come to Italy. This I can promise for sure. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have to tell you and I have to tell my Italian friends, you know, I think I don't have nowhere else that many loyal and enthusiastic clients like in Italy. Okay, it's really like my home market, you know. Unfortunately, I don't speak Italian. I can only say mille grazie.
It's enough. I say mille grazie to you, Andy. I think that all of you that are looking at this interview will say mille grazie to Andy as well.
Piacere.
Molto piacere. Andy, Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Matteo.
Hope to see you soon
Always
in
again.
exhibition here in Milano. When I come to Switzerland, if I can, I call you.
Yeah. The next step I will do is I will go now to 50 ml, the shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and I will smell some perfumes there.
Okay.
So, and if you're in Milano, you have to go there to really very, very well curated. A lot of nice, interesting brands.
Thank you.
It's a challenge,
The
but
best
you
possible.
manage, I'm sure.
I hope so. Thank you very much, Andy.
Grazie a lei.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Take care.